We're just ordinary people living ordinary lives until we see someone on TV win a $25,000 prize. Come on down. I'll play any game for 10 seconds of fame. Come on down. I'll make a deal, just let me spin the wheel. Come on down. To win $1 million, all you need is a little luck and thorough knowledge of multiple disparate trivial subjects.
All right. Welcome, Peacock Nation, to an all-new episode of Come On Down, the game show podcast. And you're listening to this when the St. Peter's Peacocks have either made the Final Four or been eliminated.
Correct. Hopefully they have made the Final Four because I ordered a sweatshirt and it is still 4 days away.
I thought you paid for expedited shipping.
Yeah.
So the $30 you paid for expedited shipping didn't guarantee that it was going to get here within 5 days?
Yeah. But these 2 days don't count. You never count Saturday, Sunday, and shipping days.
I do. I think if something says a day, an amount of days, I count all the days. I don't just skip over days.
Unless
I
it's
think that's
USPS, you have to skip Sundays. That's legal.
You want to know something that just happened with my wife?
I don't know. Is she going to need to fact check this story?
No, I don't think she is. I think I've got the facts here properly.
Okay.
So she had a prescription coming from CVS in the mail, which I guess you can do.
Yeah, I can. They do free shipping, right?
Okay, I guess. So
don't
she
really know the facts of the story.
Yeah, me neither. So she has a recurring shipment that comes from CVS through the mail, and it said
for anti-explosive diarrhea medicine.
Yes, and it shipped on like March 14th or something like that.
Yep, long time ago.
And yeah, so that's a few weeks ago now. And we're like, well, that's not right because the CVS, I can walk to it in about 20 minutes.
And yet you did get it shipped for some reason.
Hey, listen, this wasn't me. This was my wife. Let's remember. And so she calls the CVS yesterday.
Good luck getting to the pharmacy.
And yeah, it took like 20 minutes on hold to talk to the pharmacy. And then said, hey, this says shipped on March 14th. I don't have it. This is like the second time this has happened.
I've had diarrhea the past 4 days in a row.
She's been pooping nonstop. Can you just send me another one? And they were like, oh, yeah, I see that. Yeah, I think you've got to call the postal service. She was like, what? And they're like, yeah, I would just call USPS.
I'm almost positive they do not have a phone number.
Right? And she was like, can't you just send me another one? And they're like, well, we already sent you one. And it was like, okay, every single other package that I ever order arrives at my house.
Right.
This is the second time in 6 months for some reason my CVS order has not arrived at my house. And that's you're blaming the post office for that. And they were like, yeah, there's really nothing we can do about it. And she was like, send me another one. And they were like, that's really not our policy.
They can't do it. They've already said that 4 times to her. They can't do it.
Yeah, so I don't think we're going to be doing the CVS at-home delivery anymore.
Sucks.
CVS, where you'll maybe get your... What if that was like literally like a life-saving drug for her or something?
Yeah, probably wouldn't have got it shipped then. Probably would have picked it up.
Wow. All right, you're about to get fact-checked hard. I just want to warn you.
Okay.
There's going to be some serious fact-checking going on.
Bring it.
So, today we've got a game show to talk about. We've got, oh man, so many other things to talk about. A lot of stuff going on in the world right now. March Madness mainly. Actually, I can't think of anything else going on.
It is March Madness.
Yeah.
And we're talking about the political socioeconomic status, not the tournament.
I guess we've got a sponsor
we do
to get into.
Open it up.
I opened it up. Should I read it now?
You begin.
Okay. We usually do real advertisements during this segment, but we finally have a legitimate ad.
We're both pumped to have one of the most respected shoemakers in the industry as our sponsor today.
I see here. When you need a dependable, dapper, and all-around dope shoe, there's only one website you need to visit, www.florsheim.com.
Florsheim hosts a wide array of comfortable and stylish shoes, from dress shoes to sneakers and everything in between.
From material selection to stitching, they pay close attention to the smallest details. They know you care just as much as they do.
This isn't just any normal shoe company. Started in 1892 by Milton Florsheim, the company adopted a unique philosophy: never change. ever.
When all the other companies around them began to adapt to a changing environment and advancement in material construction and durability, Milton vowed to stay the same.
You can rest assured that your shoes will be crafted from materials that haven't changed since 1892. String used for stitching?
1892.
Rubber sole?
1892.
Shoe glue?
1892. I have a pair of the Pastino Cap-Toe light brown shoes, and I absolutely love them. I haven't had any issues, and I fully and unequivocally recommend these shoes to everyone. Florsheim Shoes Company. We can 100% guarantee these shoes will not explode in the middle of a wedding.
Whoa.
That's weird because...
So you fully recommend these shoes to everybody?
You know what? Here's the thing.
Because you said it.
Because
you just said it.
This is an interesting conundrum that I've run into.
Is
here.
it?
It's an interesting conundrum. Is that yesterday I was actually at a wedding.
Right.
And a few years ago, maybe 3, let's say,
Okay.
I had gone searching for some nice brogues, some nice brogued dress shoes, brown. Found some recommendations for Florsheim.
Ooh.
Well established.
What a coincidence. Did you know they started in 1892?
Started in 1892.
Yeah.
Fairly, high priced, I would say, but I guess dress shoes probably go for like hundreds and hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, I wouldn't say high price,
but
I
not
would say
cheap.
definitely, yeah, for sure.
Not cheap. And
it's because it's good quality. You're paying for the
right.
quality.
You're paying for the
shoe.
quality, and so in the these are dress shoes. I don't dress up super often, so in the time that I've owned these, I've probably worn them in the 5 to 10 times range. And yesterday, I was wearing them, and at
a wedding.
At a wedding.
So you were wearing them for the tagline that they specifically say
exactly,
for the shoe.
exactly.
Okay.
Well, and then 100% guarantee these shoes will not explode in the middle of a wedding.
Sure.
We were taking some photos, and I was turning around to get into a position for a photo.
Was it sort of an army turn where you had a whole bunch of weight on one shoe?
No, not really.
Did the spin?
Not really. I turned around, and so like my left foot kind of bumped into my right foot, and I guess my left heel stepped down on like the very corner of my right shoe in the process.
Very confusing, but sure.
Here, I'll show you. I can't show the people, but like I was turning out this way, and so I kind of like went like that as I was turning.
Okay.
Like, clipped it right there.
So you stepped onto your shoe with your left heel.
Yes.
Okay. So it's an uneven
and
surface.
When I went to raise my right foot from underneath the little half inch that my left heel was on top of it, the sole just fucking ripped off of the shoe.
But I can see here that you were stepping on it, so why would you lift your foot if you were stepping on it?
You know what? That was my bad.
It does sound like you just...
I guess that was my bad. And then I looked, so it was like the trim around the sole that ripped off, like along the outside edge.
We have a green screen. I highly recommend
I'm going to show some photos of this.
Putting up the photo of this.
Because they're in my trash can now, but...
And of course, show the first photo of you posing, and then say... 2 seconds later, and then put up the picture of the busted shoe.
Okay, so this will be me at the wedding, then the busted shoe, and the bottom, and then I looked at the other shoe, my left shoe also, and the sole had tons of like spiderweb cracks in it, and there was a little hole even of like missing sole. Like the soles just broke down. I think what happened. My theory is I wore them to a wedding that was in a backyard. And the quote-unquote dance floor was like a pool deck. So I'm wondering if like you're not supposed to be dancing on
pool decks.
But Florsheim, get your fucking shit together.
But also
I'll probably buy another pair.
But also thank you for sponsoring the podcast.
I'll probably buy another pair. They look nice.
They look fine. They look like every other dress shoe. I don't know why you would buy those again, because you can get that exact style in a company that uses materials that aren't from 1892.
Because they're our sponsor, dude. Chill the fuck out.
Sorry. Yeah,
All right, today we're going to be talking about a game show that is called Blockbusters.
Yes, and it is a very misleading title.
It's all about movies, big summer hits.
Yep. But it's always a Spider-Man movie.
Yes.
Because now there are 40 of them.
Correct.
So you have to guess which
Spider-Man, which actor is playing Spider-Man.
And you only get a picture of actor in Spider-Man character.
You-
So you have to
don't get see
know
under
the minute
mask.
details
Yeah.
between the.
And there are differences, and I
There
bet you
are.
I could identify them, to be honest with you, as sad as that is. At least between Tom Holland, Tobey Maguire, and Andrew Garfield.
Okay.
And a cartoon. I think I could tell which one was a cartoon.
So we were
and
not
which one was
going to use
not.
Miles Morales
Well, I think everybody could tell which one he is.
in the suit.
Yeah, because he's listening to rap music.
Also, his suit is kind of like sweatshirts at the very beginning.
Yeah, that is true. He's really half-assing it a little bit.
Because he's a child.
Well, yeah, of course. And there's Jake Johnson.
And Jake Gyllenhaal.
No, he's a bad guy in Spider-Man. Anyway, now that you're all caught up on Spider-Man,
Yeah.
Blockbusters is a game show that has nothing to do with movies whatsoever,
At
just
all.
to be clear.
At all.
We're going to get into why the name is what it is. And by that, I mean, I don't fucking know, and I couldn't find any good answer for it on the internet.
This was before Blockbuster, right?
This, this was before Blockbuster Video existed.
Blockbuster was what? Early or late 80s?
I think it was mid-80s.
It was mid-80s?
It was mid-80s when it first
Well, this was
started.
86, 80s. Oh,
This
80.
originally started in 1980.
Got it.
Yeah, Blockbuster Video existed after this show did.
Okay.
And now doesn't. Well, there's one Blockbuster left. Have you watched the last Blockbuster?
October 19th, 1985. It was founded in Dallas.
Look at, and I fucking mid-80s. I couldn't have
I didn't
gotten
know
more
that.
mid if I tried.
Well, it was not really mid-80s because it was October, so it was the tail end of 85.
Okay.
I have seen the last Blockbuster.
Ironically, on Netflix.
Uh-huh. I mean, you have to have it on Netflix.
Yeah. It's really like a celebratory show for Netflix, I think.
For sure. You're dancing on the grave of your competitor.
Exactly. The thing about Blockbuster, for those of you that are too young to remember, Blockbuster Video was a video rental chain across the whole country, like every corner. It was like Starbucks,
That's exactly what I was going to say.
but you could get movies from it.
Yes.
And
And
you
if
had
you
to-
didn't return the movie, it would have cost you 17 Starbucks.
Yes.
Starbucks
and
medium
There were
coffees.
late fees, and they were significant. And back before DVDs, when they had VHS, because I would guess from about 1985 until 1999, 100% of their business was VHS rentals. You had to rewind it before you returned it, or you got charged for that also,
Yeah.
a rewinding fee.
So that term
Rewinding?
is going to be obsolete. Almost is obsolete.
It's funny. It's fun. There are a
Go
lot.
back is what I would say.
Right,
On
there-
YouTube. Go back.
There are a lot of terms that are, still in use today. Maybe we've talked about this before, where the original.
What do our producers say? No, we haven't talked
Oh,
about
okay,
this before.
okay. Where the original term meant something very specific, and now it's still in use, but it's kind of a colloquial meaning now.
Yeah.
Like rewinding was called that because there was a tape that the audio or video was on, and you had to wind that tape around a little ring in order to move backwards to that point that you wanted to watch or hear. And so that's why it was called rewinding. And now it's still called rewinding. Like, you rewind that video, but
When's
you're
the
not
last
winding
time-
anything.
When's the last time you said rewind that?
I'd probably say it still.
In what context?
Like if you're watching something, rewind that real quick. I missed it or something.
And then
probably
they
say
go,
that.
what?
They go, what do you mean? There's nothing to wind. There's no tape to wind here. And it is interesting because fast forward has always been fast forward, and it's still perfectly applicable.
Yeah.
You go forward quickly. Fast
Right.
forward.
Fast forward. Fast forward through this bullshit.
Yeah. And if you're listening to this, you probably have.
Yeah.
If I'm honest. Yeah, but no, this show had nothing to do with Blockbuster, the video rental chain,
Yeah,
whatsoever.
It's a fun walk through memory lane.
I feel like there should be some lawsuits there. And I will represent whichever side reaches out first.
Right.
And the last Blockbuster is in Oregon somewhere. I can't remember exactly where. But it's in Oregon.
It's run by an entire family.
I really my brother told me he was moving to Portland at one point, and I was like, oh, hell yeah, I can't wait to come visit you and go to the last Blockbuster. It's in Bend, Oregon, which is actually like an hour and a half, maybe.
And
2
guys, it
hours.
opens soon.
Okay, hell yeah. Which is maybe an hour and a half or 2 hours away from Portland, which I was like, well, I guess I'll have to make a road trip out of it. But then my brother was a liar and did not move to Portland.
What an asshole.
So he moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma instead, which is so far away from the last Blockbuster. It
really is.
It's really of no help to me whatsoever.
Yeah, yep.
So this show premiered in 1980 on NBC. It was a Goodson Todman production.
Home of Paramount Plus.
No, it's not.
You sure?
Paramount owns CBS, just to be clear.
And that is different from
And
NBC.
also, you said Paramount Plus.
It's the new. So they came out with a new car, and they're trying to fight the Prius, and it's called
the Paramount Plus. Okay, that makes it. Now that you've clarified that, I understand. Thank you.
Yeah, it let's see, what does it do? It only plays Peacock inside.
So that you can watch MacGruber, the new MacGruber series.
Right. Yeah.
So it premiered in 1980 on NBC. It was a Goodson Todman production. They produced like, I don't know, half of all game shows in existence, maybe more. It was hosted by Bill Cullen. And he, of course, was the host of To Tell the Truth, I've Got a Secret, other game shows that were 30 years before this one. He was known as the Dean of Game Shows. Did you know that was his nickname? Not a very good nickname.
The Dean, because the Dean usually is like kind of a hard ass.
Yeah,
or,
they're like enforcing the rules.
right. Bill Cullen seemed like a very chill,
He's
laid
pretty
back,
chill dude.
Yeah, older man.
Yeah.
I would say he's more of the grandpa.
The grandpa of game shows. But not in the 50s. He was more of like the cool dad of game shows back then.
Okay, so he was the rewound grandpa
There you go.
of game shows.
Rewind it. Interestingly enough, this show got him his first ever Emmy nomination for Best Game Show Host.
That is absolutely well deserved.
You know, when you're the dean, you got to get some respect put on that name.
Yeah.
Yeah, he hosted it from 1980 to 82. There was a reboot in 87, also on NBC, hosted by Bill Rafferty. I think he hosted one of the versions of The Joker's Wild. He's kind of known for just hosting a few syndicated versions of a few game shows back in the 80s. He's also dead now.
Right. And that's what they called him, the dead host.
The dead host of game
shows.
The host who will die in 2012.
Sure. The fast forwarded dead host of game shows.
That was good. So this show premiered, like I said, in 1980 on NBC. It, along with another game show called Las Vegas Gambit, where
That's my favorite X-Men.
yeah, he's like Gambit, but just plays a little looser with the rules.
Well, what it is it's a guy.
Gambit already has playing cards, I guess.
Yeah, it's a guy who's at a bar in a Las Vegas hotel
Looking for shrooms.
and he is sullen and disheveled, and he has lost everything at the tables.
Wow.
And he's like, I used to be somebody.
Yeah, the only 3 issues of that comic exist. It didn't go very far.
I thought it was cool how he had LeVar Burton eyes and was able to.
LeVar Burton eyes.
Yeah, he had the LeVar Burton reading rainbow thing.
So you
The
mean
LeVar Burton
Star
reading
Trek?
rainbow.
You mean Star Trek, I think.
You would scare the shit out of kids if you wore that reading books to them.
So it, along with Las Vegas Gambit, premiered on NBC as a replacement for The David Letterman Show, which I think we've talked about briefly on here before.
But he was a contestant on a game show.
he was on a lot of the like celebrity panel shows in the late 70s, early 80s.
Maybe he was on.
Probably. And so the David Letterman Show was a short-lived, like 4-month-long NBC daytime talk show. And the thing about it was that David Letterman used it to do David Letterman stuff. He did not do it to cater to, oh, this is on at 11 a.m.
Yeah.
And the housewives are watching it. He just did, I'm going to do David Letterman comedy stuff.
Okay.
You know, he had kind of recently become like a really big stand-up comic. He, you know, was on several appearances on The Tonight Show. And this was back when, whenever the Tonight Show host, Johnny Carson at the time, would be out for a bit. I guess they didn't really have rerun technology at the time was the problem. So, like now, if Jimmy Fallon goes on 2 weeks vacation, they just run 2 weeks of older Jimmy Fallon episodes.
Right. Or they run 1 week and they rewind it and then they run that same week.
Okay, we get it. Rewind. Callback sick. So
I'm going to do so many more now.
so much rewind is happening in this show. So, and in case you've missed any of it so far, you
rewind it and listen to it again.
So when Johnny Carson had to be out, they would have guest hosts and continue doing new live shows. And so he would fill in for Carson, and NBC was like, all right, we got to lock this guy down. Let's give him a daytime show.
Yes.
And he just did like late night comedy in the middle of the day, and the audiences that were watching weren't super receptive to that.
It was wrong timing. Read your audience.
So it got canceled after 4 months. They ended up paying him $1 million to not do a show for any other network for a year after that.
Hell yeah.
And then they started late night with David Letterman for after the Tonight Show.
How much did you get paid when you were unemployed?
Nothing.
You didn't get paid anything.
No. NBC did not pay me anything to be unemployed.
You were probably doing late night copywriting for daytime television.
That
shows.
was the problem. That was
your
exact problem.
issue.
Yeah. So interestingly enough, when the whole Johnny Carson retired, Jay Leno was named the host. There's a lot of controversy there that Letterman did not get the job, and so he, in some fit of anger, left and started a competing show on CBS.
And they still called it the David Letterman Show.
They actually called it The Late Show with David Letterman.
Pretty close.
And so, interestingly enough, what happened was NBC owned Late Night with David Letterman. However, the David Letterman Show that aired in 1980 on NBC Daytime, David Letterman exclusively owned the David Letterman Show. So there were a lot of things like Stupid Human Tricks and whatever the wacky local news bits that he then later brought over to Late Night with David Letterman, that when he went to CBS, NBC tried to sue to stop him from using some of the bits that he had done on Late Night.
Yeah.
And because he started them on the David Letterman Show, the daytime show that he owned exclusive rights to, he owned the exclusive rights to all those bits, so he was able to take them with him to CBS when he did. Like, I remember when
Suck it, NBC.
when Conan got fired from the Tonight Show,
Yeah.
and he started his own TBS show. I remember there's a lot of controversy, like, oh well, the masturbating bear, and in the year 2000, those were all things that were created on Late Night, so NBC wouldn't let him bring those over to his new show on TBS or whatever.
Make
I
up new
remember
bits.
I remember that being a controversy. And so they had like the self-pleasuring panda instead and things like that. But David Letterman, because he owned the rights to the show that only aired for 4 months, he was able to keep most of those bits and bring them with him to CBS. Anyway, Blockbusters replaced the David Letterman Show. And Bill Cullen, he was able to keep some of his bits. Like he had a whole bit where like a child predator would come in and just start grabbing people in the audience. Whoa. And so he was able to he owned that from To Tell the Truth. So he was able to bring that over to Blockbusters.
And it wasn't weird though, because it was a child predator and the audience was adults.
Exactly.
So it wasn't
like,
this guy wasn't getting pleasure from it. He was just like, this is what I do.
That's why it was funny. That's why it was funny, because he didn't get any joy from it.
Right. It was like the audience.
The joke was at his expense, honestly.
Yeah. It was more of a shaming technique.
Yes. So the way the game worked, aside from the child predator part,
sure,
the way that this game show worked, Blockbusters, was that there was hexagons. I think that's the most important thing.
It is very important to know that the show has block as sort of the root part of the word there. But if you mess around the letters, you will get hexagon.
Hexagon. It's an anagram or whatever.
Right.
So there was a board full of hexagons that went 5 across and 4 up and down.
Mm-hmm.
And they were hexagons that were pointy on the side, not on the top. The flat part was on the top, the pointy part was on the side.
Mm-hmm.
So the horizontally, they weren't a straight line, they were squiggly.
Right. Yeah.
Squiggly across.
More of a what's that style of walkway called, where it's like shapes of concrete. It's like little blocks, but they're not blocks, and they make a path.
Oh, like a cobblestone?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
this show would have made more sense if it was called Cobblestoners.
Cobblestoners. So each of the hexagons had a different letter inside of it. And I'll get back to how that comes into play in just a second. Because we've got to set up the weirdest aspect of the game, to me.
Yeah.
Is that there were 2 competing contestants in the show. However,
sort of,
there was a solo contestant.
Yep.
Versus a pair of family members.
Yes.
So it was 2 versus 1.
Mm-hmm.
Every single episode was a pair of contestants that were family members versus a solo contestant.
Sure.
My initial notes were solo player versus family pair. Seems unfair.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, good rhyme. Yeah. But they did say that the IQ of both of the family members equaled the IQ of the contestant. So it was sort of it's not 2 brains versus 1. It's just 2 very dull brains versus 1.
I did feel like I saw that playing out in the episodes I watched. So the way that they mitigate for this imbalance is that, as I mentioned, it was 5 across and 4 up and down on the hexagons. The goal was to make a chain that went, if you are the family pair, across horizontally, so 5. And if you were the solo, up and down, a line up and down from the top to the bottom, so you only needed 4. Each line could be longer technically if you were kind of going winding a little bit.
Yeah.
But the minimum was 5 for the family pair, and the minimum was 4 for the solo contestant. And the reason that there were letters inside of each of these hexagons was that the letter was the first letter of the answer.
Yeah.
To the question that was asked. And you buzzed in, and if you were the contestant that got the answer right, you got that block. Hexagon.
Hexagon, yeah.
You got that hexagon. And again, the goal is to wiggle your way from one end to the other.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that they got the name, which again feels like such a stretch to me, is that if the person who gets it right is able to choose what letter they want to move to next, and if you are able to stop them and change that hexagon to your color, you've blocked them.
Sure, that's half of it.
Right. I don't understand where the busters came from. I still have no idea where the busters came from.
You blocked the chain and you busted the streak.
Or maybe is it like if you got blocked, now, so like because of the way the hexagon was shaped, you could technically go to 2 different spaces to continue moving across.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe if you got blocked in one space, but then you still managed to get around it. You were busting that block. Oh, you tried to block me? Well, I busted your block right here.
Okay.
I'm getting around you.
Got it.
I don't like the name still.
I mean, it makes more sense.
I don't like it.
It makes more sense when you say that.
That's I Googled like several different variations of why is the game show Blockbusters called Blockbusters?
Yeah.
And could not get any good answers.
Really?
It's very upsetting. So
I'll find it right now.
Okay. So that is the determination that I've come to of that's why it was called that.
Got it.
So one thing I noticed that was interesting to me was, so this show is on Buzzer on Amazon Prime.
Yeah,
so you can watch it at home. And when I pulled up an episode, it pulled up in the top corner the rating at the beginning.
Oh, no.
And it said rated TVG.
Okay, so for children.
And then it said language, nudity. And I thought, this game show's going to be fucking great.
Where's the... Of course you wanted the nudity. I mean,
I'm
so glad I didn't watch this in a crowded coffee shop.
There was no language or nudity, to my recollection.
It
was very interesting. So Amazon, get your shit together, I guess is what I'm trying to say here. So I still think, by the way, so there's the 2, they need to get 5 across. The 1 needs to get 4 up and down.
Mm-hmm.
I still think that's not a fair balance. Like 2 people in theory
2 times.
Should be twice as good.
Yeah, you should only have to do 2.5 honeycomb.
Yeah,
honeycomb
2.5 honeycomb hexes. I also wrote, why couldn't they just make it 5x5 or something and not have uneven teams?
Yeah,
because it seemed like there was no good reason for there to be 2 versus 1.
Well, I bet it was somebody who was like, we need.
They only had the technology to build a board that was 5x4, and they were like, "Well, we've got this board. What do we do with it?"
Like we know we need to stand out from every other game show. Okay, we'll do. Here's the thing. We'll title it something that makes no sense with the game.
Okay,
nailed it. But we need something that we need something else.
Oh,
something else. What's the thing? What's the thing?
Wow.
Family members.
Family members.
2 family members versus a stranger.
And they did it. Boy, did they do it. So the way the questions were phrased made me laugh and uncomfortable a couple times. Because so it would have a P. And you would say, let's go to the P.
Peacock.
And then he would say, what P is a streaming service owned by NBC Universal?
Paramount Plus.
Peacock. It's Peacock.
I don't think so. You're talking about St. Peter's.
Yeah. But then sometimes you'd say, let's go to the N. And he would say, what N once told a press conference?
Oh, no.
And there were 2 times in episodes where he said, what N, blah, blah, blah. And he was talking about a person, and both times.
Oh, no.
It made me really uncomfortable for a second.
Yeah.
Because my mind went to a different place immediately.
Sure.
Luckily, both times the answer was a white person.
Thank God. Thank God.
I thought, oh, man, that cracked me up. What N? Whoa, dude. 1980. Gee, I see why this was rated for language now.
Yeah, and the nudity still is. We can't figure that out.
The nudity.
We'll
no, there was one. Actually, it was. This might have covered both of them because it was what N did Barbara Eden have to cover up to avoid censorship on I Dream of Jeannie?
Nipple.
Navel.
Oh.
I also immediately went to nipple when they talked about censorship, but then, yeah, I guess she had to wear her skirt up because belly buttons were fucking hot.
It's basically...
I get so hard.
It's basically just a higher vagina.
Yeah. And it fits my penis in it just the same.
Yeah. Have you ever had hair inside of your...
Like growing inside of it?
No, not growing, but like... I guess you're not like a hairy individual, but... I will sometimes
have hair growing around my belly button.
Have you ever cleaned out your belly button?
Yeah, it's gross.
It is gross. It smells so bad.
I don't know that I.
You know what was
smell,
weird?
But,
you know what's weird is when it had been a while.
Oh God!
I had not cleaned out my belly button.
Oh, no.
And every time my dog,
what
Bo, laid on my lap, he would like
sniff your belly button
right in my belly button. I was like, that's a weird. It was like an intense sniffing, and I was like, that's a weird place to be. And then I cleaned it out, and it was disgusting. And I was like, oh, dogs can smell like cancer and bad belly buttons.
Those are the two things. They're like, you've got cancer and your belly button smells like shit. You need to clean that.
And you're more upset about the belly button.
Yeah,
diagnosis.
because what if somebody else smells that?
Yeah. That's a good point.
Somebody else can't smell my cancer. So you had to get, like I said, 5 across or 4 up and down. And the first person or team to do that would win $500 in the game.
Sweet.
And it was best of 3. So you had to win twice in order to win the show.
Okay.
And the way the mechanics of this worked changed slightly during the run of the show. But for the majority of it, after the winner won 2 games, so they're at $1,000
Hell yeah.
of winning now. Now they can also win $5,000 in the bonus game Gold Run.
And they only have to denounce their family member.
They have to kill the other family member and choose a new one to replace them for the next game.
Right.
It was called Gold Run, and I thought, that's weird. Why isn't it called Gold Rush? And then I found out that originally it was.
And then
there was some sort of like
California
legal
sued them?
issue. Yeah, I don't know. And they changed it to Gold Run, which just sounds a little weird. But it was basically the board of hexagons was now all gold. And
sure.
You had to...
Obvious switch.
Right. And you had to go across from left to right, starting with something on the left row. But they now all had 2 or more sometimes letters within the hexagons.
Sometimes 4.
Sometimes 4. Yeah.
Typically song titles.
Yeah, and so it was multi-word answers, and they were representing each initial of those words.
Yeah, got to get that gold.
And you had 1 minute to make it from one side to the other. If you miss a question, that block turns black, and it's now blocking you off as if in the main games the other team had gotten a question right. And you're trying to get to all the way to the right side within 60 seconds. So if you miss it, you've got to choose another blank to
hop onto the other
top over to
honeycomb.
And hopefully if you missed 2 that are a continuation of the one that you're at, you've now got to go back a space, basically, because you're fully blocked off from advancing that one forward.
You've wasted time.
You have wasted time. Don't get the questions wrong. That's my advice.
Yeah.
My strategy on this game, I would be so good because I would just not get the questions wrong.
Right. You would also be good as an NBA coach.
Yes, because I would tell them to not miss the shots.
Correct.
So if you were able to do that within 60 seconds, you won a $5,000 bonus. And then you are the defending champion. You face a new challenger. Whether if you're a solo person, you face a new family pair.
Team.
Or if you are a family pair, you face a new solo person who's totally outmatched. However, I will say, I was watching an episode and the family pair won, and they brought on a new contestant, a new solo contestant, and her name was Evelyn.
That's not.
Her name was Evelyn. And she explained to us that she was born Evelyn Martinez.
Yeah.
And then she married a guy named Dan Evelyn.
Ooh.
And her name became Evelyn.
And that was the only option in the 80s was to take your husband's name. There was no other option.
Correct. That is true. And so she was also maybe the ditziest person I've ever seen on a game show.
Oh, man. I hope she won the episode.
She did not.
Oh, okay.
She did, however, multiple times just buzz in at random points. Like the family pair had, was like 3-time defending champions at this point, and they were always buzzing in halfway through the question when they knew the answer, doing a good job of that. And so when Evelyn came on, Bill Cullen was like, I guess my advice to you is be quick on that buzzer. And so the game starts with a randomly chosen letter somewhere on the board because nobody's in control of the board yet. And so Bill Cullen goes, all right, we're going to start with the M. This, and then she just buzzes in.
What'd she say?
And she's like, oh, I sorry. And he was like, okay, I get, yeah, that was quick. Well, let's wipe that off the board and start over.
They started over for her?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
And she did that again a few questions later.
Yes.
Before he even said this time, it was like, all right, we're going to go to the P. And she's like, beep.
Phosphorus.
That was actually right. That was the correct answer.
Yeah. Interesting strategy.
Yeah, so she struggled. She struggled with the game a little bit. She knew some of the answers, but she was just very, very ditzy. Like, not necessarily dumb, but super ditzy.
You know the phrasing when people say, "Oh man, yeah, I'm struggle bus," or "I was on the struggle bus." What does that mean?
Why?
I was just curious because we were talking about struggle.
What does that mean?
Struggle, and I just don't understand what that means.
It means you're struggling a lot right now.
But what is a struggle bus?
It's a bus full of people that are just struggling.
Just having, but not the driver. The driver's normal.
The driver's fine. He's going on down the road, no issues whatsoever.
Yeah.
But all the people on the bus are struggling.
Yeah. Like one guy's like, God, the IRS audited me.
And this is a real bus, just to be clear.
Of course.
This is in most major cities, there is a struggle bus.
Right.
You can hop on it, and it just kind of does a loop. You work out your struggles.
It's sort of a therapy situation.
Exactly.
Where everybody just kind of gets to talk about their struggles.
Exactly.
And then you hop off, and then I guess you're not on the struggle bus anymore?
Yeah, I guess not. So I noticed when Evelyn lost, they said, oh, and you'll get some nice consolation prizes. And then at the end of the episode, I guess they were showing the consolation prizes. Yeah. A sleeve of Dixie cups.
Whoa.
Dixie cups. Did you ever have a Dixie cup dispenser?
In our bathroom.
Yes, we also did in our bathroom.
Yeah.
We had a little Dixie cup dispenser, and I guess we would use it
and
to...
I used it to pee in. I never liked the splashback, so I would pee in the Dixie cup and pour. And
you only had a Dixie cup amount of pee.
No, I had to pinch off, pour it out,
oh God,
and then continue the process.
Yeah, we had a Dixie cup dispenser, and I guess this is for rinsing your mouth after you brush your teeth. Was that the idea behind it?
Yeah, or pee,
or for peeing. When was the last time you saw a Dixie cup? However, 1993.
Yeah. Yeah. Or like, probably, what was that one? Fuck Jerry. Remember the
Instagram account?
Yeah. Their color scheme at the beginning was that Dixie Cup
that design
scheme
with the green and the pink. Is that what or purple and green? Something like that?
Yeah. Green was in it for sure.
Yeah. The kind of interlocking grunge brush looking.
Yes. And so that was the last time I saw, I guess, the aesthetic of a Dixie cup. Oh my God,
green and purple.
Look at
there
that.
It is.
Well, yeah, I would say that's more of a
teal.
Yeah, but I guess green is within the color.
It's in the green color family.
Yeah.
By the way, it costs $113 on Amazon.
It does. But but that says 11 cents.
Oh, for 1,000.
Yeah. Paper hot cup, which is different
so you
than
can
a
put
cold
coffee
cup.
in it. It will not melt. It will not burn a hole in coffee.
That's like that's like you'd see at a hotel. I feel like that was like a hotel specific.
Yeah.
It was nicer.
So yeah, you could win Dixie cups as your consolation prize. I thought that was pretty funny. But maybe it was a sleeve of 1,000. That was $113.
That's kind of a good.
It's basically a great prize.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could win up to. They eventually extended it so you could win 20 days in a row. So you could
20.
Yeah, so you could win.
They wouldn't let you leave the studio?
No, you were not allowed to leave until you won 20 in a row.
Damn.
But yeah, that was that was basically the show. In 1987, they took my advice when they brought it back with Bill Rafferty, and they said, "Let's just make this one-on-one and change the board a little bit. Let's just change the shape of the board slightly so we can make it one-on-one." And they did that, and I feel like. But what they also did was they made the $5,000 gold run a accruing jackpot. So if you didn't win, now it was $10,000 the next time.
I love that.
Yeah, I
love that.
You like when a jackpot gets larger, like
However,
the bad beat jackpot at the casino.
I do.
I'm glad we were thinking the exact same thing there.
I feel like that's not a good idea, though.
Why is that?
For budgeting purposes.
Well, if your budget is we're going to give out $5,000 in prizes every episode, then you come out exactly even.
But you know you're not going to have to do that.
Right.
But you are going to for sure have to do
the
well, I guess you just hope that people win $5,000 every episode at that point. So you're like, we never have to pay out $70,000 at once.
Yeah, but it feels like if you're budgeting well, you just set aside that $5,000 every episode and not
you
have
think
to worry
game shows
about it.
budget well? These dumbasses give away $1 million.
Yeah, but isn't that insured? Do you think they have insurance? They have to have insurance on that, right?
For sure.
It's
Which is funny that you're like, oh fuck, somebody won. That's insured though.
Yeah, it's okay. We've been paying for that like monthly.
Yeah,
or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, they changed it to where it was one-on-one, and otherwise, and with the jackpot accrual, it was basically the same game. Milton Bradley made a at-home version.
Nice, and still no blocks.
There was no blocks, no busters. It was still just a honeycomb of hexagons and letters that
happily
you had to get from one side to the other.
Yeah.
Interestingly, fact about this show, we talked about Goodson Todman and how they have like
their hand in every single honeypot.
Yes, exactly. This was the first Goodson Todman game show to rerun on cable TV.
Whoa.
On Pat Robertson's Christian Broadcast Network.
I was going to say, that sounds like a Christian name.
Yeah, on the CBN in 1984. The very first...
Country Bumpkin.
Yeah, the Country Bumpkin Network.
Hey,
was...
y'all, welcome back to Blockbusters. Country Bumpkin Network hosts the Blockbusters.
That's good.
Come on down. And Country Bumpkin Network.
You're not very good at improv. This is one of the things I'm learning about you. You're not very good at it.
I'm Rusty Wallace.
Oh wow, now you're good. Never mind.
Rusty Wallace, king of the Country Bumpkin Network.
That's Yeah, the Wild Frontier. I mean, that is basically where the Country Bumpkin Network would air. Yeah, so it was the very first Goodson Todman game show to be re-aired on cable TV. Reruns, weren't much of a thing before the 80s, I guess.
They were the hipsters of reruns.
They were.
We were doing it before everybody was doing it.
That is true. Yeah, but that's pretty much Blockbusters, not Blockbusters Video.
Which I would have so much rather... You know what I would have rather watched than these episodes? Just a still frame, 30 minutes of a Blockbuster face.
Face? What do you mean?
Just like the storefront. I would rather just watch people walk in and out of a Blockbuster.
The one in Bend, Oregon? Because that's the only one.
If this was
archival footage.
Yes.
Yeah. The thing about Blockbuster is like I said, Face Off, because I know for a fact Face Off is a movie that I rented from a Blockbuster Video.
You were able to rent... That is a very sexual movie.
Is it?
You don't remember Face Off?
Not very well.
It's a very sexual movie.
Oh.
They switch partners because the face.
Right. And so they fuck the other wives.
Correct.
Nice.
It's not nice.
No, you gotta mix things up.
Would you like that if somebody took your face and went home to your wife?
And then they had to deal with her shit? Hey,
like literally.
Am I gonna get fact checked?
CVS, get her that shit medication because she's on the struggle bus right now.
Well, it all comes back together.
Do you say that when you're having diarrhea?
Oh, I'm on the struggle bus.
Oh, you say it as you're having diarrhea. Oh, okay.
Just so people know around me.
You're screaming it from the bathroom.
Did you know? So the Blockbuster that I went to as a youth in
yours was
Texas.
at Ohio?
No. I don't want to say exactly where it was because of what I'm going to tell you next.
Okay.
So the Blockbuster that I went to,
I think where you lived.
it had they had the drop box, so you could drop it in after hours if you needed to. You didn't have to go in the store. That's not specific to the Blockbuster I went to, just to be clear.
Okay.
But you would go there, on a Friday night, and it was packed always.
Quite
on
Legacy.
A Friday night. Yes. It was packed constantly.
Yeah.
And, the new releases had way more copies than the old releases. But anyway, that Blockbuster closed like all the other ones, except for the one in Bend, Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
And it is now a dentist office that is the dentist office of our friend Brenda, who's a dentist.
Really?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Can you rent dentists?
You can rent the tools, like some of the drills and stuff like that.
Oh, that's cool.
The late fees will get you, though.
Yeah.
It's funny. When we talk about the last Blockbuster being on Netflix, I remember when Netflix first came out, obviously, it was rental by mail.
Sure.
There was no streaming.
You could have like 2 out at a time.
I think you could pay for different levels of package, and they would send you the DVD in a little envelope, and then you would send it back, and they would send you. You created a queue, and they would send you the next one on your queue. Was the
if
way
it was available,
right? And so you would send it back. They would get it back and send you next on your list. Around the same time, Blockbuster came out with a very similar service. And I remember I had it for a couple months, the Blockbuster one.
Yeah.
Because the advantage of it was you could take your mailer and bring it back to the Blockbuster store and get one at the store immediately.
Yeah.
As a trade out. So that was awesome. That was an awesome bonus for it, because Netflix, you put it in the mail, now it's 4 or 5 days because it's 2 days there, 2 days back.
Yep. Not on Sunday, but if you lost in the mail, you could call the USPS.
Exactly. So you're waiting 4 or 5 days for your next movie. If it's the weekend, you watch one on Friday, you want to watch a new movie on Saturday.
Yeah.
You could take it back to Blockbuster, get a new movie for Saturday.
Right.
So I thought that was really cool. And I was like, well, Netflix is fucked because Blockbuster's got this network of stores all over the place. Yada, yada, yada. Turns out no, I guess.
I don't know where they went wrong, because that does seem like a pretty great system.
I think where they went wrong was Netflix was like, hey, Blockbuster, we would like to sell ourselves to you. And Blockbuster was like, fad.
Yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah. So
you're probably, you know what? You're probably going to be a $1 billion company that still can't turn a profit.
Whoa. That's true. But it doesn't matter because they're still getting rich in the process.
Are they, though?
Yeah.
Well, how? They have debts to people.
But who's they?
Investors.
But not really.
Blockbuster.
Yeah, Blockbuster, definitely.
Do you know that the guy that started this company had such a large late fee from Blockbuster? That's why he was like,
Reed Hastings is the name of the guy who started Netflix.
I'm not going to be able to work a 9 to 5 and pay back this.
Yeah.
I have to start my own company and hopefully just hit big.
I remember I got Netflix streaming, and I think it was $6 a month to get it, because originally it was a
Whoa,
excuse me.
That an aggressive sneeze.
I can't believe I sneezed. Originally, it was like a bundle. You got streaming with your DVD rental service. Right. And then at one point, they separated it out so you get just the streaming for $6 or something like that.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, let me try this Netflix thing. And this was probably in
college.
2010, I think. I would say is when this
right after
was.
College.
Yeah. And very few people that I knew had Netflix streaming at that point.
Oh, you're so cool. You had it before everybody else. Is that where the story's going? I had it before everybody else. I had the streaming service. The streaming service got popular.
No. Hold on. So what I'm saying is, Like I had it before everybody else did.
And that's what you were saying, and that's what I was saying.
I was on the cutting edge. I knew that this was the future.
You were directly responsible for the death of Blockbuster. That's what you are to me, and you stole that from a generation. You stole that happy feeling. Hey, family, let's go to. And now the family unit is falling apart, and I think that's directly related to the death and the fall of Blockbuster.
I think you're probably right about that, and I do have a lot of pride about that. I will say, we lived together in like 2011, 2012.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, best years of my life.
Same. And that was right when all the Blockbusters were going out of business. And I remember that was actually what started my Blu-ray collecting. I didn't have any Blu-rays, and I didn't have a Blu-ray player even.
Right.
And Blockbusters started all going out of business, and they were selling their Blu-rays for like $2.99. And at the time, like Blu-rays were like $25.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, we should like go to Blockbuster and buy these movies for $2.99 because like if it was my perspective on it was if it was a movie that I might want to watch, it was going to cost me $4 to $5 to rent it on iTunes.
Yes.
But I could own it for $2.99. So that was a better deal for me. I own it forever for less than it would cost to rent it.
Right.
So let's go to Blockbuster and buy some of these Blu-rays. So me and our other roommate, Fran, I don't think you ever bought any Blu-rays, but me and Fran did.
No, I didn't have a Blu-ray player because I couldn't afford it.
I got one because of this. Because I was like, now I need a way to play these.
Yeah.
And I remember it got to the point where we would like call Blockbusters in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and they'd answer, and we'd be like, "Hi, are you guys going out of business?" Because we wanted to find where the
you
sales
wanted
were.
To scavenge. You wanted to pick at the bones of a dying industry.
And they'd be like, no. And then we'd call back like a couple weeks later and be like, hey, are you guys going into business? And they'd be like, yeah. And we'd be like, yeah, I figured.
Right. So you're calling people, and essentially what you're really asking is, do you have are you losing your job? And these poor teenagers are like, yeah, dude.
And I'd be like, fuck yeah.
Yeah, and then hang up the phone, and I'd be like, and then you would go to the store and be like, are you the fucking idiot that's losing his job? Hell yeah, dude. We're them $2.99
I have a job.
Blu-rays.
I have expendable income. I make $35K a year I can spend on Blu-rays. Then we would learn like because the way it worked was they'd say, oh, we're going out of business. All of our inventory is on sale. And the Blu-rays are $14.99. And then the next week they were $12.99. And then the next week they were $9.99. And so by like the fifth week, that was when they were $2.99. It was like the week or two before they went out of business.
Right.
And so we would learn what movies went soon and what movies lasted. And so like, for example, we would know like, oh,
Spider-Man.
Precious, based on the novel Push by Sapphire, always has 20 copies left at the end. So we would go and like take like The Dark Knight on when it was $14.99 and put it in the middle of a stack of Precious based on the novel Push by Sapphire,
fucked up.
And then come back 3 weeks later. And like I remember I had a note on my iPhone of what movies I hid at which Blockbusters behind what other movies. I kept track so that I could go back later and find it when it was $2.99. And sometimes it was gone, but sometimes it was still there.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
What was the best score you had?
I can't remember.
Look up the phone. It's probably on your phone still.
It probably still is, but I don't know if I would have noted whether I ultimately got it or not on the phone. But I mean, I ended up at the end of that with probably like 30 Blu-rays for like under $100 total.
That's crazy.
And since then, that started an unfortunate kind of obsessive collection in my life where I now own well over 1,000 Blu-rays.
Yeah. And then that'll be obsolete in probably about 5 years.
Well, I'm including 4K Blu-rays in that total as well. Because probably 200 of those are 4K.
And do you still go to like Best Buys and hide? Do you go to stores that you think are going to close down in 20 years?
No, I wish. The problem is like now Best Buy, their Blu-ray section is like it keeps shrinking and shrinking because everybody's moving to digital.
Yeah.
But for my purposes, Blu-ray and 4K Blu-ray are still higher quality than you get from streaming, especially with the audio.
You just have shitty internet.
No, I have gigabit internet.
Not enough.
Not enough. Shit.
You need Elon Musk trigger get.
I guess I'll have to get that once the Blu-rays go away. I'm gonna have to get Trip Trigger get from Elon Musk.
That's exactly how you say it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, Blockbusters, the game show. What are your final thoughts on it?
Final thoughts. Here's some things that I enjoyed about it.
Okay.
The style of the 80s was amazing.
Yeah. I mean, game shows back then are just so much better.
It looked like disco got a 9-to-5 job.
Yes.
Is what it looked like. I like that the contestants basically sat in each other's laps.
They were very close to each other.
Phenomenal hosting.
Of course.
Phenomenal
hosting. The dean of game show hosts.
The dean of game show hosts.
You didn't even know that was his name when you wrote that note.
I did. It did.
Oh.
The fast pace. The questions weren't super difficult.
Uh-huh.
I mean, some of them were 80s specific.
Yeah, some of them were harder for us because we weren't alive.
But it was a good general knowledge spread of question strength. And I liked that a representative from the studio audience got a prize.
Yeah. You know?
And you don't ever see that anymore.
You're right.
I should get a prize for watching your stupid Amazon show.
I should get a prize for watching this.
And my only dislikes are where are the blocks, where's the busting?
And that's a common complaint, I think, because obviously that was on my list of questions as well.
Yeah.
It seemed like we're playing a little loosey-goosey with the name here.
What's your make it better?
My make it better is the name. Let's call it like
loosey-goosey.
Hex is Wild or something like that.
Ooh, or like Moneycomb.
Ooh, that's it. It's Moneycomb.
Oh,
you can't fucking question that. Moneycomb is the answer.
Took me 10 seconds.
God,
you idiot.
God, fucking Bill Cullen, you goddamn moron.
Yeah, go die.
Yeah, he did like 30 years ago.
Okay.
But yeah, Moneycomb. Ooh, I like it. Let's go to NBC with a pitch of a revival.
Okay.
Called Moneycomb.
And it's the same exact thing, but the people have to be covered in bees.
Well, I was going to say what happens is if you lose a game, because you know it's best 2 out of 3.
Yeah.
Whoever loses the first game, you know like how you get slimed on Nickelodeon? You get honey. A big vat of honey gets dumped on your head.
Gross. And they release a bear. A trained bear.
If you lose the second game, if you that's when they release the bear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Moneycomb. Oh, man. All right. Hey, guys, this is probably our last episode because we're about to be fucking rich with our own game show. We're going to be a little busy.
Mm-hmm. And somebody else will have to talk about us on their game show podcast.
Hell yeah. But in the unlikely circumstance that NBC turns us down.
Yeah. Or if somebody gets mauled by that bear.
Yes. We will probably see you guys next week.
Yeah.